Educationist for 20 years, Richa Gupta pushed the envelope by starting a career beyond a career post retirement, that of a writer. Her debut novel, Skiens, published in 2018, continues to be a bestseller on Amazon. Her new book, Slices of Life, is a collection of stories on women in the current chaotic times. Some heartwarming and others heartbreaking. Richa's stories and slices of life will make you laugh and cry, hope and yearn, and seek justice. A big hello from the team of Between the Lines, a space where we bring to you interesting personalities and take you into their lives, their careers, and their passion. Welcome, Richa, to Between the Lines. So happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm glad that you called me and invited me to this show.
Richa, your latest book, Slices of Life, has a very interesting mix of stories ranging from science fiction to murder. And yet, at the core of it are women. Tell us more about your choice of writing more and more stories about women.
See, Lipika, being a woman myself, I've undergone a lot of struggles in life. Our society is so patriarchal and it is so difficult to find your feet and a voice of your own amidst everybody that I identify with the struggles that women go through, and I feel that they go through far more struggle than any man because they have to prove themselves in a man dominated world. Though we talk about liberation, I really think that we haven't yet reached there. There's a certain perception of women, which dominates most of the Indian men, especially. I think it is there maybe in the West as well, but knowing our scenario, I think it really dominates the scene here. The man is so special over here, and the woman is relegated to such an inferior position. She's not supposed to have a voice of her own. She's not supposed to have an identity of her own. And if she tries to, assert herself, she's called all kinds of names, a harridan, a shrew, a whatever. And if she doesn't assert herself, there are people walking all over her. So, that is why I think the struggles that women go through form the core of my books. Uh, I don't think men struggle as much. They get it on a platter. They get it from their families. They get the importance. Their mothers bestow so much importance on them. Society bestows so much importance on them. And women are supposed to be an appendage. We are just supposed to be there. And if we have a strong man besides us, we are protected. If we don't have a strong man besides us, we are open to all kinds of, diatribe and whatever you may call it. So that is why I think, women form the core of my novels.
You have been a teacher and a trainer all your professional life, imparting knowledge in creative writing to the young. Share a bit about how you chalk out your characters and how many of these come from your real life.
Well, when I'm creating characters, I want them to be as realistic and as close to life as possible. So somewhere, the various people I've met, they do come into my characters, but not everything. It's a mixture of imagination and reality. So somewhat, their character vested with my imagination. So that lends to the creation of the character. They're not entirely people I knew in life, or my students, or my colleagues, or anybody, but it's a mixture of fact and fiction, somewhat vested with my imagination. People I know, a few characteristics from them, and some which I imagine.
Now, going on to your previous book, Skiens, again, it sees a group of women out on a trip, and what captures your imagination is the range of age of these women set out on this journey of rediscovering themselves. From teaching creative writing to applying the concepts on yourself, What are the toughest bits about the art of writing that you find?
I used to teach creative writing very confidently to my students and keep correcting them that this is not plausible, or this is not going right. Correct your language here and things like that. But when I started writing my novel, that is the time I really realized the intricacies of developing characters and really, continuing a story over 300 odd pages. uh, so there's a lot that you learn in actual practice. When you're teaching, it's very easy to espouse all the precepts and tell the students that this is what they ought to do. But when you're doing it yourself, that is when you realize, the true effort behind it and the true uh, labor behind it. So, yeah, so it was my first novel that really exposed me to this process. And I think then you grow with each novel or each story that you write, because you get more and more confidence in yourself, and it comes much easier. So I was already, since I was already inclined towards language and language skills, it came much easier to me than to maybe somebody else. I wrote my first novel in 3 months, and it just sort of flowed. I didn't even have to think very much about it. It just flowed naturally. So I think I took it up faster and easier than many others because I was already teaching creative writing and I was already inclined towards language based professions. So, but yes, you truly realize the intricacies when you actually get down to really writing. There's no other way to develop that skill except to just write. That is the only way.
What do you recommend young people to read to improve their creative writing skills?
I think when you're young, you should read the classics. You know, like the classics, Emily Bronte, Charlotte Bronte, Jane Austen, because later in life you'll pick up bestsellers and read them at any stage of life. But it is only when you're young and when you're developing your language skills that somebody will guide you to reading the classics. I still haven't found a better exposition of Victorian society than Pride and Prejudice. So whatever the current writers are writing, that's fine. But to get a perspective of the historical development of how the novels really grew and different societies than your own, you have to read the classics when you're young. So that is what I used to tell my students also, that just read the classics now. A bestseller or some contemporary writers you will pick up in any stage of life, and you can read it while going to bed or while traveling or whatever. But you will never pick up a classic later on. You will never pick up Jane Austen to read when you're inclined towards light-hearted reading. So, to get a perspective of other societies, to have a broader horizon, I think they should all read the classics first.
And what makes your writing richer?
I travel a lot, so I think that really helped me write the novel, my second novel, because I based it on, the places that I described were based on my own traveling. And I had been on a trip to Spain and Portugal myself about a year back. So, a lot of places I could describe them, and I could describe, how a group of the women traveled together. So, all that came from my real life experience of traveling. I love traveling and I travel a lot. So, I think that really lends to my writing. And then you see different societies, different ways of living, and different scenarios, different places. So, that gives a richness to the writing.
And you paint.
Yes, I paint. I love doing portraits, and I'm really fond of doing portraits. So there was a long gap when I didn't paint, but now I've taken to painting during this lockdown period, because it keeps me really, it keeps you engrossed. It's a constructive use of your time. So I took it up again in the lockdown period, yes. And I love doing abstract paintings. I love doing all kinds of paintings.
What are you writing next?
I have started writing some more short stories actually, but I also want to write a novel. I have a concept in my mind, so I want to develop that. So I don't know which will come out first, which I will be able to do more rapidly. But I have written about a few short stories. I have written a few short stories, so they can go into a collection.
Thank you so much for your time, Richa. I wish you all the best for your next book and look forward to reading it. Thank you once again for being on Between the Lines.
Thank you so much, Lipika. It was wonderful to be with you and to interact with you. Thank you.